Hi, this is Janet Fitch, and it is noon on Wednesdays, so it must be Writing Wednesday, where I answer your questions about writing, about the writing life, about maybe you have specific questions on your novel, your short story, motivational questions, philosophical questions, cultural questions. Um, just how we have questions that are more on the craft side, questions that are more on the art side. You can put them in comments, or you can email me through my website, janetfitchwrites.com. I have a contact form, and you send me a question later in the week, on the weekend. I can formulate a Writing Wednesday around your question. So today we're at the beginning of November, which is National Novel Writing Month, something called NaNoWriMo. And I don't know who out there might be doing NaNoWriMo, but millions of people have done it. There's something about November that, the year's almost over, and oh my God, I haven't put the work in on my novel that I wanted to, and now I can devote with thousands of other people, I can devote the month of November to my writing. So I thought I would talk about NaNoWriMo and give some tips on how to make it work, better than just vomiting a bunch of words on a page and then sticking it in a drawer. Like the upside of NaNoWriMo is you write 50,000 words. At least this is the way it's structured. 50,000 words in a month. So that's like 1,600 words, about 6 pages for those of you like myself who think in terms of pages rather than words. It's about 6 pages a day. That's a lot. New pages, which doesn't mean going over the old pages, which is how most people work. That's how I work. So to have that many new pages a day is exciting. It is also, hi Linda, hi Janine. It is also has some inherent problems with that. So I thought I would talk about how to make, hey Amy, I thought I would talk about how to make NaNoWriMo work for you. So Janine says this is honestly the first time I've heard of NaNoWriMo. So if you're interested, it's nanowrimo.org. It has a page counter. It has pep talks, which I've done pep talks for them. There are groups, there are meetups, there's, all kinds of activities going on. And you're writing with other people. There's a certain excitement, there's a charge to it. It's a great challenge. It also is problematic, and we'll talk about what's a good way to use NaNoWriMo. Recently, I talked to a writer who is often on Writing Wednesday. I hope she can make it. And she said at one point she has several NaNoWriMo novels in the drawer. This is the downside of NaNoWriMo. If you think you're going to write a novel in a month, you are probably overlooking what can be, what the best use of NaNoWriMo is. A novel, you can write a novel in a month, mystery, maybe, romance. It can be done, but in fact, most of us know that the writing of a novel that is going to be a serious book of some kind, that this is a labor of close attention. And you can't, anybody who's run a foot race, especially a sprint, knows that you cannot pay close attention to anything when you're running flat out like that. It's inimical, it's mutually incompatible. So what NaNoWriMo is good for, I think it's, hi Louie, what NaNoWriMo is good for is it's like those paddles that the EMTs use to jolt you back to life. It's concentrated energy. It is a sprint. It's concentrated energy. And if you have gotten all the way through the year and just have gotten pulled every which way and you've not been able to really get working on that book, and it's just a big load and it feels terrible. I've gone all year and I just haven't gotten myself together to work on that book. I've people with the full-time job, people with the little kids running around, people being pulled this way and that way by all kinds of things, decide that, wow, it's November. If I don't do it now, then the holidays come and relatives, and so November is the perfect month to do this kind of thing. It's for people who, like most people, can't get away for a writing retreat. It sounds really great, right? Get away for a writer's retreat. Most people can't do that for a month, So this is like making your own mental retreat. November, 1,600 words a day, which is substantial. I really am going to have to fight for that time. I'm going to declare, okay, everybody, this is the time you make your own, dinner, get your own-y, and mommy is going to, or daddy is going to just put pedal to the metal. And, so that's probably the highest use of NaNoWriMo, is simply to take a patch of time and put barbed wire around it and say, this is mine. This is what I'm going to do this month. That is, if you only did that, that would be amazing. The other, a really good use of NaNoWriMo is if you had the book in the drawer. I've done a show about the book in the drawer, what to do about this thing that's like dragging. Hi, Elizabeth. She says, my exact situation. It's dragging on your head, that book in the drawer, and it's just sitting there and it's full of dust, and, mice have been nibbling at it, and, it hangs on your head. This is the perfect time to take the book out of the drawer, blow the dust off. And we're 2 days into NaNoWriMo already. This is the 3rd of November. Just go in, sign up, and then get that novel out of the drawer and say, okay, I'm going to blow through and finish it. You already know the characters. You already know what's going on. Now just go ahead and spew the rest of the book onto the page. In a month, you probably be able to finish it. Not beautifully, not, really pulling meaning out of it, not really fashioning it the way you will eventually, but you can see whether that book is worth finishing by doing it. Whether or not you hit the 1,600 words, so what? Do you need a star on your chart? No. It's the excitement of all at once. It's the concentrated energy that we're working for. So first, I'm going to talk about using it for old work that has been tugging at you. You give it a good month of really hard, steady work getting through to the end. Then you can see if it's worth working on, or really, it died, a natural death under the house, like the sick cat. It just wanted to go under there and die in your drawer. and you've given it a chance, you've taken it, you've really tried, put some energy into it, and it's still pretty dead, then you know. And then you never have to worry about that book again. But if it jump starts the book and you get it does have some life, and you do sort of know where you're going with it. You know the work that you needed to put into it that you didn't do. So you actually concentrate and put that work into it. Sometimes it might finish off. There might have been reasons that you were procrastinating, or reasons that you were hesitating. Maybe it was something, a really unpleasant scene was coming up and you just didn't want to write it. But when you're on the sprint, there's no time to hesitate. So you just do it. You throw yourself into it and you do it. And then you see one way or the other. So that's a wonderful way of using NaNoWriMo. Then there's the opposite. I have an idea for something, vague idea for a book. Now, I do not advise people sitting down and just pounding out 1,600 words a day, and then. There was a publisher's reader. The publishers have first readers. And before the editor reads it, you're going to get a reader reading it. And then because they get so darn many books, they might get 10,000 books a year. The difficulty with NaNoWriMo and the agent's readers as well is people finish something manuscript-like in a month, and then they send it to an agent. They send it to the publisher. It was just like, they hate NaNoWriMo because it's just a lot of production, but not a lot of heart, soul, time, energy, value going in. So we're just talking about first drafts, not even first drafts. If you are starting a new book and you want to use NaNoWriMo to work on that new idea, to see what's there. The idea of having 5 NaNoWriMo novels in the drawer fills me with terror. I would never work that hard for a month for something that has to go in a trash can. I value my time and my creativity way too much. So if I'm working that hard, I want the best chance of getting something usable. It doesn't have to be a novel. God knows it won't be a novel. But it will be something that will not have to go into the trash. It'll be something valuable that I can use to craft something larger out of. So my advice to doing NaNoWriMo, National Novel Writing Month, so it's about a novel, not little prompts, is to think of a story that you've been wanting to write, and think of a few scenes. Think of, if you have a month, think of 6 to 8 scenes that you imagine that novel would need. I think of it as fence posts. If the whole novel is, a mile of good fencing, think of the scenes that you can already see. I will need a scene, between the thief and his betraying brother. I need that scene. I need a scene of the break-in. I need a scene of, instead of and then, which tends to sometimes back up on itself, and first I need to go to the liquor store, and first I need to, and you keep backing away from the essential scenes. Try to write those essential scenes, 6 to 12 essential scenes. And in a month, 6 is a good number. of essential scenes, 8, however you want to do it, and just write those, the most important scenes, and then worry about the blah 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 and the romantic subplot, and worry about that some other time. Just think of the essential scenes, and then you'll get done with a month of NaNoWriMo, and you might not get your gold star for 50,000 words. And, okay, everybody likes a gold star. Yeah, lie. Give yourself a gold star if you want. This is all for you. It's not school. But then you'll have something usable when you're done. You'll have this, the major scenes will have been roughed out. And then you'll be able to see what fits, what you might need in between. So that is a good use of NaNoWriMo. I've signed up for it. I use a fake name, and I keep it as private because I don't need NaNoWriMo to see what I'm working on. But I love the excitement of it. I love the concentration on moving ahead, piling up the pages. I'm pretty slow, so getting that little jolt it's good for me too. I got 1,600 words yesterday. I rewrote a chapter that it took me about a month to write that one chapter. But then I wrote a rough draft, a first draft, or in the middle of a first draft of the next chapter yesterday. So I work really hard, and there's something to be said for that kind of concentrated labor, because when we talk about being the life of art, one of the largest components of a life of art is having the ability to concentrate your attention for long periods of time, to really live it. When I had little kids, I remember just being so envious of a friend of mine who was able to, I just been working for 3 days, day and night, on my book. I slept in my office, and I just thought, oh God, wouldn't that be nice to be able to concentrate like that, rather than mommy, can you zip this, So NaNoWriMo, you can tell your family what it is and what you're doing. You're just going to be pedal the metal, and it's going to be hot dogs and macaroni for this month, and just it helps you. It helps you stake out the territory. It also is really good, if you just want to go for the sprint and you want to just disgorge 1,600 words a day. 1,600 words a day, 6 pages a day, without going back and shaping and thinking about stuff. And, then just be aware that it's like you're weaving cloth on one of those industrial machines, and the cloth is coming out. And then be aware that that cloth is not an evening gown. That cloth is not, a beautiful suit. That cloth is just cloth. And you are then going to have to go back and craft what you've churned out. But sometimes it's nice to, if you tend to get bogged down in the details, it's nice to have like one long, big sprint where you're just creating. But then you probably are looking at, a couple of years of questioning, thinking, making choices, shaping, pulling out meaning from what you're doing, crafting sentences. You're just beginning. So please don't just pack it up and send it to an agent. But I don't like to waste anything. So if it is something that um, an idea that's just been bugging you, a book that fell apart, and you want to revisit it, that's a very promising way to use NaNoWriMo. They also have meetups. You know, now that we're getting more vaccinated and stuff, we can actually maybe do some of the meetups. It's people who are interested in forming writing groups. Um, there are facilitators in your area who then work with people. They're part of the NaNoWriMo cheerleading staff, and you can meet other people and use it as the basis of forming writing groups moving forward. You can meet other writers, so that's a value. The social aspect is definitely of value. I love those pep talks; they're really fun. Mine was about writers getting around writer's block, which is basically saying don't try to push through a writer's block. You know, don't try to walk through the boulder. Go round, just like hiking. You know, the huge boulder falls onto the path. Don't keep like pushing your way through it. Don't, you know, just walk around, keep going, skip that part. So Linda was asking, it's hard every night at work sitting down to get out the 1,600 words. Yeah, it's hard. That's why it's a sprint. It's like you don't sit there with those defibrillation paddles. You don't just sit there and shock yourself, you know, all year long. It's a one-time deal. So, you know, you do this for November, and then December will be all the mulled wine and all that stuff. Prompts, shorts, character studies. It's for novelists. So if you don't want to use it to write a novel, you know, you don't have to ask anybody's permission to do so. But the reason why the word count can be so high is you tend to be continuing something. I think that character studies and shorts, you can do it. You can take a day and do, you know, character study. You can take a day and do shorts and so forth. But if you are, imagine linked stories. If you want to work on shorts, use the same character. I mean, 6 pages is probably no longer a short. It's a little short story. Maybe it's the upper limit of the short. But there's no law saying you can't do it. It's the intensity and the everydayness, the dedication, the excitement of doing that. I could see doing, say, if you want to do just character studies, do 30 character studies, having nothing to do with any novel, and just there's a rhythm in the form. Then it would be Jennifer, and then salient stuff about Jennifer, and then tomorrow it's Boris, and the next day it's Yvonne, and the next day it's Judy, and they might start knowing each other. They might have interactions. So that would be an interesting thing to do. I mean, who says that you have to do it the way they say to do it? You know, it's the intensity and the commitment. And you sign in every day, and you put how many words you got, and it's a way of staying in the saddle, you know, staying with it. I don't see why you couldn't do that. Let's see, what else did anybody have thoughts about doing? Has anybody done NaNoWriMo? What was your experience with it? Has anybody finished a novel? And what did you do with it? I know one writer who said she did it like 5 times, but nothing ever came of any of the books. So is that a net gain in your writing life? Was that a net gain? Or was that just something to do? I'd rather see you produce something that you can then move forward with. So it's a really good thing to do in the middle of a book. I'm in the middle of a book, and I tend to go over and over and over a chapter until I'm satisfied with it, for the time being anyway, and then on to the next one. And after 4 weeks on one chapter, this last chapter, I am ready to put pedal to the metal and just let's knock out some pages here and see what's there. I'm probably, gonna go over what I've written, so I might have 2 or 3 sessions of 1,600 words. But I imagine, in 4 days, I'm gonna be going back over what I wrote and make sure that it makes sense at least, which is the second draft. First draft is you write it. Second draft is, what was that about? Was there a change? Did something happen that we cannot go back to the way it was before, scene and story stuff? If so, then I'll be satisfied with it for the time being. And then I'll go on to the next chapter. I think during NaNoWriMo, I can probably get 3 more chapters to this book. I'll be happy with that. Maybe I could get 5 chapters. If I got 2 chapters a week, I could probably get 8 chapters of this book. And that includes going over it. That includes, getting up to second draft with those chapters. And that would be invaluable to me. Any kind of long project, when you're in the middle of a long project. I've been working on this book since beginning of pandemic. So that's 20 months, something like that. It'll be nice to get a big shocker of energy and get through some pages. I'm looking forward to that. So Amy says, I am so critical of my own work that it is often, almost always, abbreviated at a paragraph for the day. Oh, so this might really be a good, a valuable interlude for you. Because then if you're going for the full 6 pages a day, then you go and you can get to the next 6 pages and the next 6 pages and see if you can not go over it until you get a few days, or even a week of new work. And then if you have to get back over it, even 1 full day, it sounds like, if you could get a full 6 pages done, then the next day maybe you eyeball that, you make some changes, and then you go on to the next. I'm somebody who can do both. And then it'll get you out of that perfectionism that is super slowing you down, because that, to me, that paragraph perfection is like crawling over broken glass. I know people who do it, but it's just, and that sounds really painful to me. Whereas if you can get 6 pages, and then you'll go back over, but not to finish, just to straighten it up, to do some work on it, move ahead, knowing that you will go over it again. It won't leave like that. here's one. I finished a novel. May says, second draft for figuring out what it's about. Yeah, that takes off some of the pressure of doing the first draft. Okay, Lewis says, I finished a novel. Congratulations. Learned a lot from writing it and some major mistakes. Used chunks of it in workshop last summer. At some point, I'll revise it again. I might use NaNoWriMo to, let's see if I can get the rest of it. I might use NaNoWriMo to, oh, my phone. Come on, it's Lewis. There we go. My big fat finger seems to trigger something with this phone. I used... Oh, I'm having trouble getting the rest of your comment, Lois. There you are. At some point I will revise it again. I might use NaNoWriMo to do that, but probably not this year. Yeah, you might want to start something new. Play with it. Yeah, revision is, that's a different process. Or you might want to use November to revise 6 pages a day, as opposed to being satisfied with a page at a time. But NaNoWriMo, I think, is mostly to generate new material. What else can I say about using, anytime you can use kind of the slingshot effect, it helps ramp up your process and give you the feeling of what is it like to wake up thinking about your book, work on it, think about it during lunch, work on it, thinking about it during dinner, think about it all day long, dream about it, wake up and think about it again. What is it like to work in with a little more heat than you normally would? Getting a bigger chunk of time, not just an hour or two, but really to immerse yourself in it. Even while you're at work, you'll be thinking about it. You'll bring it out during coffee break. Maybe you won't go out to lunch. You'll sit there at your desk and work on it some more. It's like having a deadline. That's a problem with, working on fiction, on long-form fiction novel, is that nobody gives us a deadline. Nobody cares whether you do it or not. It's the most difficult thing about writing long-form fiction, especially, is that nobody cares whether you do it or not, and it takes a long time. So whenever you can find a way to kind of slingshot that process, to give it a little extra boost, it's quite valuable. So I recommend checking it out, but I don't recommend just disgorging, this torrent of verbiage, unthought about, unconsidered verbiage about some vague something that, one thing leads to another, and you end up at the end of the month with something you don't want to work on, that is not going to go anywhere. I would be much more judicious in what I chose to work on and try to work towards something that is going to be more substantial. So I recommend the the fence post idea, and working on significant scenes that then will anchor the rest of the book. So what else can there we go. I guess I can say I am teaching right after NaNoWriMo, because I figure people are going to want to do some more, serious craft work after this huge sprint. So it's going to be the 3rd, 4th, and 5th of December, and I'm doing a workshop at Community of Writers on dialogue, fiction dialogue in fiction. So the dialogue scene. And people say that Janet hates dialogue, but that is not true. I love good dialogue. I hate bad dialogue. And bad dialogue is really easy to do. It's what we do. It's what we do naturally, is we just, I know for myself, when I think of a scene, I hear people talking. And they just go blah, 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 blah down the page. No, you didn't. Yes, you did. No, you didn't. But dialogue on the page is different than dialogue in life. Dialogue on the page is crafted. Dialogue on the page is about conflict and only about conflict. It has a form. It has a muscularity about it that is like, if you've ever seen cats fight or birds, any kind of, almost every kind of animal, they don't just like go 16 rounds with Mike Tyson until everybody is just exhausted. They come in and then they separate, and then they come in and then they separate. It's getting that rhythm of engagement and separation that's really important in dialogue. So we do the 3-line exchange of dialogue. We do the 5-line exchange of dialogue. You start to think of compression is really important in dialogue. The use of gesture, the use of facial expression, the use of landscape, of time of day, of light, of just about everything, plus people talk. And it's got to be, lines have to be worthy of reading. Somebody's going to read that. It's not, it can't just be, yeah, says who? What great actor wants to say, yeah, says who? Or what do you mean by that? Good actor, just like, I don't want to say that. Give them some lines. Give them some decent lines. So there's a lot involved in dialogue on the page. And it's not screenplay. It's not a play. It's not a screenplay. We can hear what people think in their heads. They don't have to say everything either. They can lie. And we know what they're thinking, and we know what they're saying, and we see the difference between them. Fiction is really interesting. And anyway, so I'm teaching class in a weekend workshop, an intensive. I like intense things, obviously. So it's a weekend intensive. It'll be Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday, the 3rd, 4th, and 5th of December. And there's a discount, early bird discount, until the 15th of November. So halfway through NaNoWriMo. So by the 15th of November, there'll be a break. It's the weekend is 5 2-hour sessions, and it's like $280 until the 15th, and then it'll go up to $350 after that. So if you want to sign up early. You get a big discount for being early. I like that. So so Lewis is going to take it. Excellent. Yeah, dialogue is about conflict, Krista said. Yeah, dialogue, that's all it's about. And Brittany says, I learned so much about dialogue from you. Well, there's going to be a whole class on dialogue, and we're going to write different, we're going to learn about the beats of dialogue. And Kathleen says, the nuts on the top of the sundae. Yeah, you'll figure out what that's all about. That's the spoken word part of any dialogue scene. The measure is very small of the actual speech. So thank you. I hope you sign up for the thing. I also should say that I'm getting all of these videos from Facebook onto my YouTube channel. It's easier to search there. So if you want to search, it's at Janet Fitch's Writing Wednesday on YouTube. And if you like it, what I'm doing over there, subscribe. So when I post others, it's easier to search. I like it, and someday I'm just going to get so sick of Jeff. I'm already sick of Mark Zuckerberg that I don't know how long I'm going to do this on Facebook. So I like to have it on YouTube. It's much easier to find. Snakes don't bite above the ankle. Yeah, that's true. And okay, so wishing you good writing, good NaNoWriMo if you're doing it, and feel free to send questions for next week to my my website, janetfitchwrites.com. There's a contact form, and have a good week. Bye.